Okay, Lori, can you take the roll call, please? Here. Thank you.
Mrs. Lamb, are you
Are you
here?
here?
Here, sorry. I couldn't hear. But here. Noakowski,
Here.
Joy absent, Rowe. Here.
Okay, stand for the pledge, please. That one. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yep.
I'm not used to talking, but I want to thank you all for coming tonight. It's so nice to see the crowd and we get nervous. And right now, here's that's it.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to thank you for coming out. It's always a very busy time of the year, but it's also a time that we get to recognize some of the great work that our students have done. And we know that our students don't do that with support at home. So we just appreciate all the work you have done to make sure that they are successful. And we are going to call up each school and have the students who are called. We're going to line up over here. They'll get their certificate. We'll ask them to stay up here so we can take a picture, and then we'll have them take a seat. And then when we are all done, we do have snacks for those students who receive the awards. So you can grab those at the end of the evening. But I'm going to call up Ridge Lawn to do our first round of students.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out tonight. We'd like to thank our host school, Ridge Central, with Mrs. Geyer and Mrs. King for hosting us this evening. We are very proud of our students from fourth grade up to eighth grade that we're recognizing tonight. Fourth grade is the first time students can be recognized for straight A honors, so we have some fourth graders we are happy to present tonight. By the way, I'm Mrs. Sataro from Ridge Central, Ridge Lawn.
I'm supposed to be up there.
Don't you help hand them out normally?
Students, we would like to recognize, and we know that not everyone was able to come here tonight, but it is important that every student does hear his or her name. So we're going to start with Rancy Ahmed from fourth grade. Our next student from fourth grade is Leslie Palacios. Continuing with our fourth grade, we have Anissa Mohammed. Moving on to our fifth grade students, we have Haneen Faber, Miriam Abdul Razik, Yam Al-Famahi. And here she is making a grand entrance. And last but not least, Janan Yusuf. For our families that are here, we are going to stop and take a picture for Ridge Lawn before we pass it on to our host school.
Good evening. I'm Katie Keelan, principal at Bridge Central. This is Emily Dyer, assistant principal. We are so proud of our students and their hard work in all that you've achieved in this first trimester. We're going to start with our fourth graders. Miss Ava Balsam. Violet Bogart. Zachariah Fala. Gracie Rodriguez. Araceli Harimo. Ava Orlando. Elsie Sakra. We're gonna take a quick picture. These are all of our fourth graders.
You want to slide down? A little bit?
Joy. My sister-in-law is over there. She's fine. She's not. Appreciate it.
Good.
Gabriella Cotton. Charles Duder. Claire Luke. Crystal Cortez Martinez. Sebastian Rodriguez. Jaden Bias. Naomi Lowry Jackson. Stella Butcher. Olivia Dominia. Isaac Ocon. And finally, Harrison Schmidtke.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Mr. Youngberg. This is Mrs. Babian. I'm the principal here at Finley. Looking forward to recognizing and celebrating all of our students here at Finley that had straight A's for the first trimester. So starting off with our 6th grade student, Artigan Alternately. Nabil Batrouk. Liliana Demara. Aiden Elmer Scanlon. Idris Falah. Jaden Hernandez. Abdelaziz Jaber. Maya Legaika. Lugain Mana. Omar Mustafa. Noah Pedalino. L'Oreali Powers. Waleed Rafati. Dan Requena. Jackson Schultz. Masij Simshah. Last but not least, Rory Trichler. All right, please join me in congratulating these students. We'll take a picture right up front here. Let's take a picture.
And our 7th grade students are Salah Mahmoud, Bo Musana. Emily Navarro. Miguel Alwin. Maya Piaczynski. Caitlin Tarquino. And Gianna Valenti. And we're gonna take a quick picture with our seventh grade and then we'll, should we want me to do eighth grade? Do eighth grade, perfect, here we go, eighth grade. Eamon Abdallah. Isa El Yafi. Fuad El Safar. Omar Awad. Abdurrahman Benjabar. Mohammed Benjabar. William Devos III. Isabella Frater. Liliana Hernandez. Charles Schultz. Shyla Stewart. Ryan Trenier. Cormac Trishler. Leo Watson. Jocelyn Yance. And Ibrahim Zayed. Right, then we'll come up for a picture.
You guys are gonna need to read.
Nancy's gone now. It's easier with the little ones.
All right, great job, everyone.
Before we conclude the student awards, we had two students from Ridge Central. My goodness. Stop this. Wow. Two students from Ridge Lawn come in for their awards as well too, so we would like to recognize two of our fifth graders. Janan Youssef. Can you please put up the field for that? Anthony Jaber. So that we have a complete picture. If you're from Ridge Lawn, come on up to have your picture taken again, so we get everybody together.
You need a V8.
There we go.
One, two. That's right. I would like to once again congratulate all of our students on earning straight A's for the first trimester. We hope to see all of you back for the second trimester, but just wanted to encourage you to try to do your best. Again, we do have some snacks here for the students, and we will be continuing our official board meeting. You are more than welcome to stay for however long you'd like, but also that if you need to get going, you can definitely leave whenever you want. So congratulations, and thank you for coming out this evening.
Our neighbor across the street. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, if you guys want to mingle for a little while, and then we'll get started soon. We are, but you can still talk. Go ahead. Good night.
Bye, thank you for coming.
Have about people at times.
Okay, we are.
I feel like she's a vampire.
Consent agenda. Approval of the minutes from November 8th. Open and closed session. Second. Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, wow. We're back to
Superintendent's reports,
Wow.
yes. Just always a great way to start the evening. So it just kind of reminds us all of why we're here. And hopefully you had a chance to look through some of the school and department reports. Just a few things I wanted to point out. Finley hosted the Student Senate, which only comes around every like 9 or 10 years, where there are 60 kids from the conference of all the schools who come together and really talk about leadership and just how to be leaders in your school. So it was really nice to see that. It's been in the conference now for about 7 or 8 years that they started. They wanted to bring together kids in a way that wasn't just competition, which is so much of what the conference is about. So they did a really nice job of hosting that. If you also look, we had Staley DeBear come and visit from the Chicago Bears, visited both of our elementary schools. And I will say he had some really interesting dance moves, but really talked about bearing down on bullying, and it was very well received by the students. So that was great to see. Also, I think my favorite picture out of the whole thing is the bald guy who's not me on Ridge Central's picture, and that is Detective Sloan. And I think it just shows why this has been such a good partnership. Like you hear of a youth officer working at a school and you think like, all right, they're going to be stopping this and stopping this. These are 2 little kids running up and hugging him. He's just built those relationships with our students, and it's been really, really nice to see. And then the final thing, not as exciting, but very important, our winter map testing has begun. And we're interested, this is the first year we've moved this before Christmas break, and you norm the scores so that it shouldn't be impacted. But what we found is when kids would come back from winter break, it was really hard to judge what they had been taught and retained, because we all know when you're away for 2 weeks doing nothing with school, your retention is going to go down quite a bit. So we're interested to see what the impact will be on their scores. So 4.2, the enrollment report, we're pretty much overall holding steady. We are down 5 students from last month, and anything between like 5 and 10 students is just kind of your normal fluctuation. So it's just something we always kind of watch. For our PTA report, our Dine and Donate is at Smashburger over in Oak Lawn this month. So, you know, I will make sure I stop by. They have these stocking events going on at the different buildings where students can get a raffle ticket and go after the stocking. I know some of them get really excited about that. It's filled with candy and more candy, and it's a lot of fun. And then the next meeting for the PTA is actually not until February 7th, and that will be at 6:30. So they've got kind of a break with our winter break in there as well. Vacant positions and possible staffing needs. We're actually, a lot of our openings now are some longer term subs for some FMLA leaves and things like that, as well as some paras, as we've had some contractual paras that we've changed out. So those are our main areas. We still have not been able to find a reading specialist over at Finley, but we did find a health teacher, which we are very, very excited about. She's also been cheerleading coach the last couple of weeks, so very, very excited for that. So. Winter break begins on Friday, December 23rd, and will end on January 6th. School resumes on January 9th, so it's a very nice long break for everybody. And the district office, if you remember, will be closed from December 26th through January 2nd. So I know everyone is very appreciative of that, and we'll come back ready to roll as soon as we get back. We have really lucked out with weather so far. I cannot believe it's December 13th, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But just wanted to remind inclement weather e-learning days. Last year was the first year that we really had to implement an e-learning day. We've reminded our staff that they need to be sending those Chromebooks home, because especially on a Friday, you don't know when that could hit. We hope that we don't have any of those, but we live in Chicago, so we know that there's a really good chance at some point we will have that. So. And then 4.7 superintendent student advisory group. I had the opportunity last Thursday to meet with all of my advisory groups at the 3 buildings. And we had an awesome time. It's just such a fun group, and every building and every year takes on a different just character and feeling. When I was at Ridge Lawn, the kindergartner probably talked more than anybody else. When I got to Ridge Central, the kindergartner did not talk at all, but like the 4th and 5th grader, they came with like a list ready to go over everything. And this is the first time I've sent questions home for the students, and I was a little worried that we'd get some canned parent answers, but I did not feel that way. The students' personalities and what they talk to the other students, it just really came through. I learned that although we love pizza day, we do not necessarily like turkey sausage pizza day, because then you just spend your whole time picking it off. But I also just the kids saying how much happier they are this year than they have been able to be the last couple, and as parents and community members, I think we all know that is very, very true, but you can just see it on their face. And then really one of the questions I always talk about is like beautification of the buildings. And we've done a lot over the last 6-7 years in these buildings. I mean, pictures of students, things like that to make them look better. But a lot of the students talked about now the outside of the buildings just look very like bland. So that's something we want to try to start looking at it and seeing what can we do to make it even more inviting. And it just, some of the other things we've done, I know one of the advisories right before I came here wanted basketball hoops back there. They have basketball hoops. They talked about how nice it is to have 2 playgrounds now over at Ridge Lawn. So the students notice, and they notice that they do have a voice in some of these things. And I think they're very proud to be a part of it. So we'll be meeting again in February, and then our last meeting of the year will be in May. So, and then 4.8 strategic plan 1-year review. The second board meeting, the study session, Tuesday, January 24th. Will be when we do our 1-year review for this. And Lori and I have been working on the list, making sure we're not missing anyone who was there last year. And so we will be sending those invitations out either at the end of this week or the beginning of next week, asking for the people who were here to be joining us again. And you'll have a chance at your same tables that you were at before to sit down and have those conversations about where we are, what we've already accomplished, and what we want to do in the future. And then the administration and whoever wants to help them will be presenting at the end to kind of let the entire group know what we're doing. It's hard to believe that's already been a year, but while we were reflecting on it over the last couple of admin meetings, we've made some really good progress in some areas, and there's other areas that we knew would take longer that we continue to chip away at. And for once, I have no other. So I am going to turn it over to Mrs. Nothnagel.
So 5.1, NWE fall data. In your board packet, under 5.1, you'll see the fall NWEA student growth summary reports for reading and math. So one side is reading K-8 and one side is math K-8. And if you remember, the reason why this data is being shared out so late in the year is because we had to go back. I say we, I don't mean we. The assistant principals did a ton of work to connect and data match the student data that was already in NWEA with these current scores, and that took a lot of work on their part. But now we feel confident, and we've circled back and made sure that these scores are the most accurate scores to present to the board. So this is representative of the K through 8, kindergarten through 8th grade students who took this test in September. The graph that you see shows an orange diamond. The orange diamond is the projected growth for that grade level. The blue bar for each grade level is the actual growth. So when you're looking at that, sometimes that orange diamond will be in the middle of that blue bar. That means that we've exceeded the growth expectations than what was expected, or sometimes it's right at that same level. But it's important to know that, the average of growth across the district was about 58%. So 58% of our students, K-8, met their growth target, in the fall. And then we have about 44% of our students, achieving at grade level. So what we're going to do, as an administrative team and as a district within our district strategic plan is continue to look at those few things on that plan that will directly support the work that needs to take place with curriculum, the guaranteed viable curriculum, which is part of one of our goals, the instruction with instructional practices, and then of course the multi-tiered system of support, which is part of that conversation as well. And so we will continue to look at those things, revisit those, and use this data to drive next steps with that process and plan. As Dr. Thorns had mentioned, we are currently taking our winter NWEA math testing for both reading math and then the math fluency. Currently, we've decided to do that before winter break, as Dr. Thorns had mentioned, in hopes that we can kind of capture what those students have learned before the 2-week winter break. But then also gives us an opportunity to get that data sooner, capture that data, and then be able to start looking with grade level teams about what student growth we've accomplished or had, celebrate those successes, but then also use that data to drive conversations at the team level. If we need to discuss, curriculum changes, instructional changes, we can do that immediately when we return from winter break and start making that change, in that instructional support from January until the end of the year.
Do you have any other today, Mrs.
You
Matthews?
know what? No. Yes, but no.
Okay. Any questions for Mrs. Nothnagel?
No.
All right, what we've all been waiting for. Chief Business School official.
Okay, yeah, fun stuff here, guys. Good evening, everyone. Okay, a couple of things with construction. I just wanted to update everyone about. Tomorrow we'll be meeting over at Ridge Lawn because Construction Solutions, who's going to be doing all our work over the summer, actually wants to get a jump start. They are going to be starting the work in the courtyard in January as opposed to spring break. And why they want to do that is they feel like they want to get a jump start on preparing the ground for both the foundation work and the utilities. And so we're going to get together as a group with the contractor and the architect along with the building principals to really see what that is going to mean for the school, any sort of disruption and what sort of accommodations we need for the construction crew. So that will be tomorrow. And then the other thing we'll be asking the board later in the meeting is to approve the door replacement project. That was part of our facility refresh. And right now we're asking the contract to be awarded to Red Feather Group in the amount of $189,680. And that is for 21 openings within the 3 buildings. And that work is scheduled to start over the summer and be completed by the beginning of the next school year. Next is last month, we had our annual health, life, safety inspection, and overall it was a very successful visit. Ridge Central and Finley did get cited for some minor violations. They always give us the opportunity to remediate those prior to sending that final report into ISB. So very happy to say they were able, when I say they, the custodians and our maintenance engineer were able to correct all but one of those. And Ridge Lawn, hats off to Ridge Lawn, did not have any violations this year. So overall, it was a great job, and the principals along with the custodians really do a nice job at keeping our buildings very safe for our students and staff. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the National School Lunch Program. I know, right? And what we reached out to our students and they told us what they like and what they didn't like. And I've been having some conversations with Open Kitchens and made our suggestions to see if we can incorporate those meals more frequently into the menu. And I believe I shared with the board that they currently have CPS as a client, and they serve significantly more meals than our school. And so really we're not I'm going to say a really big priority for them. So we've actually started reaching out to other vendors, really just to see what options are out there. Because there is an opportunity to bring other vendors in prior to even as soon as next school year. Whether the feasibility of that will work or not, we're not sure. So far I have talked to two of the larger vendors in the area. And what I'm finding is our system, which is truly vended, that little TV tray meal, if you will, not a lot of school districts have that anymore. It's more bulk food that is prepared and then individually portioned, which may increase the quality. So too soon to talk what our end game is going to be, but very pleased after my conversation with ISB that there are some options. And very realistically though, if we did decide to do this, whether it would be in March or not until next year, we would anticipate an increase in cost. Because right now we really pay the bare minimum to Open Kitchens. And if you remember, we have a contract with them, so we were only able to give them a 3% increase in their production, and everything's costing more than 3%. So I think we're sacrificing a little bit on our quality because we can only pay them so much. So really just wanted to share that with the board. I will continue, through the next couple of weeks to make some additional phone calls. And again, right now, I'm just kind of waiting on two vendors to see if they would even be interested in taking us as a client. Any questions?
I have that one that I talked to, that's great.
Do you remember the vendor? I was, okay,
I believe that.
okay.
They're doing stuff in. They were telling the city or something like that.
Country House was not on the list because when I reached out to ISB, they provided me a list of local vendors.
I know
And
they
they-
service schools and. they're
Yes.
local.
Yes, but I could certainly,
Yeah.
yeah,
They
Yeah.
were doing one when there was free food pickup during the pandemic. They had
mhm,
two locations that they had, and people were overall pleased. A lot of people
Okay.
favored when it was to a one high
Mhm.
school, and then I believe they did it at another school close. It was for anyone. with
Okay.
children, to
Sure.
go and pick up hot meals
mhm,
and breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I just felt like we had went and it was, felt like they did a very nice job.
mhm,
And I think that they do service schools, but I again, I don't know
Sure.
the semantics of, the grants as well as,
mhm,
the overhead, but if it was something they are, relatively local
yeah.
in Crestwood, so.
Mhm. And that's good to know because it seems like the vendors will accommodate the National School Lunch Program. It's not a surprise to them that we have to adhere to those guidelines. And quite honestly, if they don't, well, that's the end of the conversation, but they were not on our list, so I will reach out. And Tetra actually sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So I will continue that.
What I found interesting about them. They have gone into work.
Mm,
They know what they know what they're against, I
Sure.
guess, or whatever, do you know what I mean? Like, they know kind of like how the setup is, and they know because everything went out. Stuff, but
mhm,
it just seemed like they kind of knew, I mean, I don't know, because I didn't talk to them as people, but. Anybody could be like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think the key is to start looking at specific vendors that reach out. to current applicants.
Right, and are they getting that? And I
mhm,
think also they're somewhat new, you know what I mean, and they're, and it sounds really funny, but if somebody is really trying to start, they usually tend to, be a little bit more,
Sure.
Yeah, they're, they're gonna hustle a little better and.
I just feel like it's been a consistent thing. If we qualify for this, that means we have students who are not getting, that need these meals.
Mhm.
And it's food that they can't possibly eat because the kids and
Yeah.
the picky, or it's just not what they like, then it's worth
Mhm.
So we might get you food, but we're throwing it away.
Right,
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
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 Mhm. And most importantly, our participation rate is so low. It's not even 60%. In the one particular vendor that I talked to, that's what they honed in on. That means something. Something's wrong when you can offer 1,400 students a free meal and a free breakfast, and they're not even taking it. And so it was just it was a very good conversation. And again, just very happy, that there are alternatives out there and we don't necessarily have to go out for the immediate formal bid.
Prior to COVID, Arbor Park Middle School's cafeteria was servicing other schools as well.
Yes.
I don't know if they.
And what that is called satellite. Because there could be a vendor, I'm just gonna say, Preferred. Okay, Preferred's not in business anymore, but let's say it's Preferred. Preferred might cook at Arbor Park Middle School as a satellite location. And then they drive it down the street to other schools. And so both of the ones I have been talking to actually provide that service. And obviously it's a relationship that the vendor would have to go back to the school and say, hey, you know what, your friends down the street need 1,400 meals. Can we use your facilities? Because I was very honest, right now, I don't think we have the facilities for it. We don't have ovens to cook, we have things to warm. And now if we did go with another vendor, there is an equipment component because right now Open Kitchens owns our ovens and our refrigerators. But there's also grants available for that we could look into. So a lot of options. I don't think we have to settle for what we have now. Prices have not come in, but again, at least it's a discussion.
A child is a happy child, and a happy child will work more than exactly. So
Agreed.
I would pay a pretty penny to not have free lunch.
Right. As a parent, of course. Yeah.
Here you go. Take it
Yeah.
all.
Mhm.
we will 1,500 dental boxes every night with all kinds of stuff. So
Oh,
Isn't it funny how we don't think about it? I know my son. Kindergarten, it was always had to be the principal talked about how it be a healthy snack. And then I had children. And I realized that a healthy snack is anything that they would put in their mouths. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Well, thank you.
It's
for-
true.
Yeah.
I will keep at it and hopefully we'll get some good results. But now the tax levy, why everybody's really here, right? Okay. So at last meeting, I presented and much detail the 2022 tentative tax levy, which was approved by the board. And so this meeting, all I'm going to do is reiterate that the amount has not changed. We are still asking for a tax levy of $7,374,000, and that is strictly on our tax capped funds. And the amount is 5%, which is the lesser of CPI, or 5%. This is the first time in over 30 years that we have been at the 5%. And so I'm just going to share two brief slides with the board and the community. Okay, so the first one is the same as I would have shared last month. And what it indicates is the 2022 tax levy by fund, starting with the education fund, all the way down to the working cash fund. So the 2022 capped levy is $7,374,000. And then a new public act requires any school district or municipality requesting a levy to present to the community and the public the fund balances. So we are showing you the fund balances as of July 1 of 2022, which including capital projects is 30,662,117. And right now you'll see our most recent fund balance of 11/30, which is 29,775,613. So later in the meeting, we will be asking the board to approve the 2022 levy. And I do not have another. That is all I have. Thank you.
Oh, I have a question, Ken.
Yes, I'm sorry.
The Red Feather Group,
Mm.
what did they not need in the contract? What did they not do properly?
Yeah, so great question, and I included a long summation in the board report. When our architect requests bids to be submitted from a certain vendor, there's all different requirements. And one that Studio GC feels very important, is participation with public school districts in a certain dollar amount. So when we got Red Feather Group back, they did not have public school experience. They did have, there was some private school experience. And so we were a little bit unsure if we could award that contract to Red Feather Group. So what we did is we reached out to our attorney and he asked to see all the documents, and right in the general portion of the bid documents, it's a 67-page document, but like on page 2 or 3, there is a waiver clause saying the district and the board can waive any of those requirements if it's still in the best interest of the district. And so in this case, door replacement, our architect felt, is a pretty straightforward project. And the next highest bidder was $50,000 higher. So when you're talking a base bid of $189,000, that is a huge percentage. So we made sure we could legally award it, but more importantly, our Studio GC is very comfortable with choosing them as the vendor. Okay, thank you.
So we're gonna go for public hearing, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this is to approve the public hearing as it stands. Well, in our book, right? For 7 million, for approving the public.
Yes, we have to open the public hearing.
I know, I just wanna make sure I have my verbiage right. Remember, a couple years ago, I started saying it wrong. We would have been in big trouble. Okay, right now, public hearing is now open. And it is 7:25. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board regarding the 2022 tax levy? Okay, we do have to, as you know, we have to say it 3 times, even though there's only us. Is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding the 2022 tax levy? And for the last time, is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding the 2022 tax levy? Nobody? Hearing is now closed. 7:26. That was quick. Okay, we need a motion to adopt the board levy in the amount of $7,374,000.
I'll make a motion.
And somebody needs to jump up and down.
Yeah.
Oh, look, thank you, Megan.
Aye.
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 Aye. Potential board action to approve the resolution authorizing the reduction of certain fund levies for the 2022 levy year. Second, Anybody? Need a second? I'll second. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Potential board action to approve contract with Red Feather Group in the amount of $189,680 for door replacement project. Motion? I'll make the motion. Second motion, a second motion. Mr. Milkowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Girl.
Aye.
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 Aye. Potential board action to submit the FY 23 school maintenance project grant application. Motion?
And I'm sorry, I did not speak of this. Every year, usually every year, there is the, school maintenance project grant. And it's a matching grant up to $50,000, and it does need to be board approved. So I have written that grant. We're just waiting for board approval, and we have earmarked the door replacement project for that.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Mrs. Buzzard.
Aye.
Mr. Milkowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Burrow. Aye. Mrs. Metropolis.
Aye.
Mrs. Lano. Aye. Mrs. Sullivan.
Aye. Potential board action to approve a contract Country Club Hills Tech and Trade Center. Motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Mrs. Lano.
Aye.
Mrs. Burrow. Aye. Mr. Milkowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Metropolis.
Aye.
Mrs. Buzzard.
Aye.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Aye. Potential board action to post for first reading of the following board policies. Did you like to?
Yeah, so there's a lot of board policies on there. Almost all of them are simply legal updates or a change word here or there. The only one that asks for an administrative recommendation is 5.250 leave of absence. And the question is, does the board require fully vaccinated employees to participate in a district COVID-19 testing program? And the answer is no. So that would be the administrative recommendation. Usually we have like 5 or 6 of these policies that we have to change or answer questions, and they have big impacts. This is the only one we have to answer on this. Most all of them are just a word change here or there. So. And this would be a motion just for the first reading tonight.
Make a motion. I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Milkowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Burrow. Aye. Mrs. Lano.
Aye.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Aye.
Yeah. just our Meeting.
Pardon me, you want to go? So we have meeting reports, others, we have nothing, right?
Nothing.
Anybody, visitors, anybody wants to speak? No, they want to go home. President's prerogative. Okay, so you had a very successful, judging by the certificates today, of a first trimester. The last couple of days have been a little trying, but that does happen every once in a while. I'm glad to see how well administrators do their jobs to make sure things got back on task real quick. So thank you for that, and just keep hanging in there and, you know, always do everything you can to do the right thing. And watch those safety rules, please. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Oh, yeah, Merry Christmas. I won't see you guys again, will I? Okay, so after.
And I'll read fast so we can get going for them. We are going to adjourn a closed session for the purpose of the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on complaint lodged against an employee of a public body to determine its validity as defined in the Open Meetings Act. Section 2C1, the discussion of collective negotiated matters between the public body, its employees, or the representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees as described in Section 2C2, the discussion of security measures and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, to staff, the public, or public property as defined in Section 2C8, the discussion of pending or probable and imminent litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the district as defined in Section 2C11, and the discussion of minutes of prior meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act as defined in Section 2C21 for the purpose of review, approval, or release of such minutes. We will not be discussing any student discipline during this closed session.
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Mrs. Burrow. Aye. Mrs. Metropolis.
Aye.
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 Mrs. Lano. Aye. Mrs. Sullivan.
Aye.